Have you ever been so invisible that you wondered if you even existed? That's the question that haunted Cameron Parker every single day as she pushed her cleaning cart through marble hallways where million-dollar deals were made and broken. Today, in a boardroom worth more than she'd earn in 10 lifetimes, that invisibility was about to shatter in the most shocking way imaginable. The crystal chandelier cast dancing shadows across panicked faces. The secretary lay crumpled on the imported Italian marble, her body still as death, while 12 executives froze like statues' coffee cups suspended mid-sip. This wasn't just any meeting. $47 million hung in the balance, and every second without documentation meant money evaporating into thin air. "Get her out, call 911. Matthew Cole's voice cut through chaos like a blade, but his steel-gray eyes never left the unsigned contracts. The Chinese delegation shifted nervously, their translator whispering rapidly. Time was hemorrhaging away. In the corner where shadows gathered like forgotten dreams, a shy girl named Cameron pressed herself against the wall, trying to become one with the mahogany panels. Her cleaning cart, her shield for 3 years, stood beside her. She watched paramedics rush in, watched panic ripple through powerful men like children afraid of the dark. This wasn't her world. She was just the ghost who cleaned up after giants. "The recording system is down," Matthew's assistant stammered, face pale as paper. "Without notes, without documentation, the deal dies." Matthew's jaw could have crushed diamonds. His gaze swept the room like a searchlight seeking salvation until it landed on her, on the invisible shy girl who existed in the spaces between important people. "You." His finger pointed at her like destiny calling. "Can you write?" 24 eyes turned to her in unison. Cameron's throat closed tight. Her scarred right hand trembled. She nodded, barely a whisper of movement. "Then sit. Now." Each step toward the conference table felt like walking through quicksand. The executives pulled back as she passed, as if poverty might be contagious, as if her housekeeping uniform might stain their success. The leather chair still held the secretary's warmth. It felt wrong, like wearing someone else's life. Someone shoved a legal pad forward. 2 pens rolled across the table like fate's dice. She picked up both, one in each hand. The room gasped collectively. Then something inspirational happened that would change everything. Both hands began to move in perfect synchronization, creating 2 identical sets of notes simultaneously. The left hand captured every word in flowing English. The right hand, the damaged one everyone pretended not to notice, wrote just as perfectly, just as fast. 2 pens dancing like synchronized swimmers, never colliding, never hesitating, creating something beautiful from chaos. Matthew Cole, who'd built an empire on reading people, felt his breath catch. This wasn't just writing, it was art. It was impossible. It was heartwarming to witness someone society had discarded displaying genius-level skill. Ravenhall, the housekeeping manager, stood frozen in the doorway. Her perfectly painted face darkened like storm clouds gathering over a peaceful valley. She was watching her carefully constructed hierarchy crumble as this shy girl demonstrated abilities that shouldn't exist in someone who cleaned toilets. The Chinese delegation leaned forward, mesmerized. The eldest businessman removed his glasses, cleaned them, looked again. The cleaning woman wasn't just taking notes. She was capturing every nuance, every pause, every emphasis with precision that their own secretary had never achieved. "Remarkable," someone whispered in Mandarin, forgetting she might understand. Cameron did understand. She understood in 7 languages. But that was a secret she'd buried deeper than her parents' graves, deeper than her abandoned dreams, deeper than the scholarship to Harvard she'd torn up to raise her baby sister. as her hands flew across the pages, creating this inspirational display of hidden talent. She felt something shift in the room's atmosphere. The invisible shy girl was suddenly terrifyingly, magnificently visible. What happens when the person you've overlooked turns out to be the one person you desperately need? The meeting concluded with signatures and handshakes, but nobody could stop staring at Cameron as she carefully arranged the completed notes. 2 perfect sets, every word captured, every detail preserved. She moved to fade back into her familiar shadows, but Matthew's command stopped her cold. Stay. That single word might as well have been a prison sentence. The boardroom emptied like water down a drain, leaving only 3 souls, Matthew sitting in his throne-like chair, with the weight of curiosity in his eyes. Raven hovering near the door, like a vulture scenting opportunity. And Cameron clutching the notepads against her chest, like armor against the world. Explain, Matthew said softly, dangerously. That wasn't normal. That was... He searched for words like a man grasping at smoke. Nobody with that ability should be scrubbing floors. What are you hiding? Cameron's eyes found the floor, studying marble patterns, as if they held escape routes. I just wanted to help Mr. Cole. That's all. She's showing off. Raven's voice sliced through the air, sharp as winter wind. Trying to seem special, trying to rise above her station. I'll find you a proper replacement by tomorrow, someone who knows their place. I asked her, not you. Matthew's tone could have frozen hell itself. Raven's mouth snapped shut, but her eyes promised revenge, promised that this shy girl would pay for making her look foolish. That night in her 8x10 basement room that smelled of industrial detergent and broken dreams, Cameron sat on her narrow bed and pulled out a journal hidden beneath her mattress. Its pages bloomed with languages English flowing into beautifully crafted sentences she'd never speak aloud. Stories written in perfect prose poetry that captured heartwarming moments she'd witnessed but never participated in. These pages held the brilliant mind she'd locked away when survival became more important than dreams. A photograph slipped out, younger Cameron in a Harvard sweater standing between parents whose faces glowed with pride. Before the accident that took them. Before she'd dropped everything to raise Amy, her 12-year-old sister. Before she learned that sometimes love means becoming invisible, so others can shine. She picked up 2 pens and began her nightly ritual, both hands moving in that strange ballet she'd taught herself after the accident that damaged her right hand. The doctor said she'd never write properly again. She'd proved them wrong by learning to write with both hands, simultaneously turning disability into ability, weakness into strength. Today someone saw me. Really saw me. And I don't know if that's wonderful or terrifying. Maybe both. Maybe that's what inspirational moments feel like, terrifying and wonderful all at once. 20 floors above in his penthouse office that overlooked a city of dreams and nightmares, Matthew Cole stared at the notes she'd taken. Beyond perfect, they were revelatory. She'd captured things he'd missed, subtle tells in the Chinese delegation's behavior margin observations that could save millions in future negotiations. This wasn't just skill, this was genius hiding in plain sight. He picked up his phone, set it down, picked it up again. Finally, he dialed. Marcus, he said to his head of security. Background check on Cameron Parker, everything, and I mean everything. Meanwhile, Raven Hall sat in her office, her manicured nails clicking against her desk like a countdown to destruction. She scrolled through employee files until she found Cameron's photo. 3 years of perfect attendance. Never complained about extra shifts. Never asked for raises. Never caused trouble. The perfect invisible employee, exactly how Raven preferred them. Not anymore. She whispered to the empty room, her voice containing years of her own buried fear. She'd clawed her way up from nothing, from being a foster kid nobody wanted, from being invisible herself. She'd sacrificed everything to never be overlooked again, and she wasn't about to let some shy girl with a parlor trick threaten her position. She opened her desk drawer and pulled out the master key, the one that opened every employee room. Tomorrow at 2 a.m., while Cameron slept, she'd find something. Everyone had secrets. Everyone had something that could destroy them. In the basement, Cameron felt an inexplicable chill, though her radiator clanged with heat. She closed her journal and held it tight against her chest. Outside her small window, she could see feet passing on the sidewalk above a parade of lives that never looked down, never noticed the shy girl living beneath their world, the heartwarming soul who found beauty even in basement shadows. Her phone buzzed with a text from Amy. "Did anyone notice you today? Did anything good happen?" Cameron smiled through tears as she typed back, "Yes, baby. Someone finally saw me. I don't know what it means yet, but someone saw me." She didn't notice the shadow that would pass her door at 2 a.m. Didn't hear the soft scrape of metal in lock. Didn't know that by dawn, her carefully guarded world would face its greatest threat. In his office, Matthew's phone rang. Marcus, his security chief, sounded stunned. "Sir, you need to hear this. Cameron Parker, she was a Harvard linguistics prodigy. Full scholarship, spoke 7 languages, by age 18 IQ that's off the charts. Top of everything until a significant pause. Until her parents died in a car accident. She dropped out to take custody of her younger sister. Sir, this woman could be running a university language department, and she's been cleaning our toilets for 3 years. Matthew's reflection in the window suddenly looked older, more tired, more human. Why would someone like that choose? Sometimes, Sir, survival doesn't look like success. Sometimes it looks like sacrifice. Sometimes the most inspirational people are the ones who give up their dreams so someone else can have theirs. The CEO stared at the city lights, each one representing a life, a story, perhaps another shy girl with hidden brilliance just trying to survive. When we judge people by their uniforms, what miracles do we miss? Dawn crept through the hotel like a secret being whispered too loudly. Cameron arrived at 5 a.m. as always, her cart squeaking a lonely song down empty hallways. But today felt different, the very air seemed to hold its breath. Other housekeeping staff avoided her eyes, their whispers following her like accusatory shadows. Raven stood by the executive elevator wearing a smile that could cut glass, a manila folder clutched in her manicured hands like a weapon. "Mr. Cole wants to see you," she announced, her voice dripping with false sympathy that fooled no one. Immediately, "It seems there's been a discovery." The elevator ride stretched like a journey to Judgment Day. Each floor that passed tightened the knot of dread in Cameron's stomach. When the doors opened to the executive level, her worst fears materialized. Security guards flanked the entrance, the head of HR sat rigid in a chair, and Matthew presided behind his desk like a judge about to pass sentence on a shy girl who dared to step into the light. "Sit," he commanded. The warmth from yesterday had vanished, replaced by Arctic cold. Raven placed the folder on his desk with theatrical precision, savoring every second of Cameron's growing fear. "We found these during a routine security inspection of her room." Matthew opened the folder. Inside lay pages from Cameron's journal, but something was horribly wrong. Her innocent language exercises had been altered, mixed with what appeared to be copied segments from confidential contracts. Her heartwarming poetry about finding beauty in mundane moments had been doctored to include private information about hotel guests, trade secrets, merger details that only executives should know. These aren't someone changed them. Cameron's voice cracked like thin ice under weight. You documented private conversations. Matthew's voice was controlled fury, each word precise as a blade. You copied confidential information. Were you selling it? Is that why someone with your intelligence was pretending to be just a shy girl in housekeeping? No. The word tore from her throat. Please look at them carefully. The handwriting is similar, but it's not someone forged. Her eyes found Raven, who stared back with practiced innocence. I trusted you, Matthew said quietly, and somehow his disappointment was worse than any shouting. Yesterday was inspirational watching you work. I saw something special, something heartwarming, and you... He stopped, jaw-clenching. Security will escort you out. Your final check will be mailed. You're terminated, effective immediately. Cameron stood on legs that felt like water. Please, Mr. Cole. My sister. I need this job for my sister. You should have considered that before betraying our trust. Security flanked her like guards escorting a criminal. The walk to the elevator felt like a funeral procession for her dignity. Other employees pressed against walls to let them pass their faces, mixing pity with relief that it wasn't them being marched out in disgrace. At her locker, Cameron's scarred hand shook so badly she couldn't work the combination. A guard had to open it for her, one final humiliation for the shy girl who dared to be seen. Inside, tucked behind her spare uniform, lay a drawing she'd made, a butterfly with wings formed from words in 12 languages, something inspirational she'd planned to leave anonymously on the executive floor. She crumpled it in her fist, her dreams crumbling with it. 5 minutes to clear your room, the guard said, not unkindly, but firmly. Her room looked violated, drawers yanked open, mattress askew, her private world dissected and exposed. Her real journal was gone, replaced with Raven's forged pages. But there was something else, a note in Raven's handwriting. Stay invisible. It's safer. Trust me. Cameron packed in a daze 3 years of her life, folding into a single cardboard box. As she passed the maintenance closet, a familiar voice called out, Cameron, child, what's happened? Mr. Jasper emerged from the shadows, his 62-year-old eyes wise with the weight of witnessing too much injustice. He took in her box, her tears, her shaking hands, and understood immediately. They didn't see you, he said softly. They saw what someone wanted them to see. It doesn't matter now, she whispered. I'm nobody again. No. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a folded paper, a sketch she'd done months ago for his granddaughter who'd been hospitalized. It showed a princess made of stars, surrounded by words of hope in every language Cameron knew, spiraling like galaxies. You know what his granddaughter said when she saw this? She said it was the most heartwarming thing anyone had ever made for her. Said it made her believe in magic again. Magic doesn't pay rent, Mr. Jasper. No, but truth has a way of surfacing, and when it does... He squeezed her shoulder gently. When it does, you be ready to shine so bright they'll never be able to look away again. That shy girl who hides in shadows, let her go. The world needs the real you. That afternoon, Matthew tried to focus on new contracts, but something nagged at him like a splinter in his mind. He pulled up the security footage from the previous night. Watched Raven enter Cameron's room at 2:03 a.m. with her master key. Watched her leave with the journal at 2:47 a.m. Watched her return at 3:15 a.m. with different pages. His blood turned from ice to fire in seconds. But before he could act on this revelation, his assistant burst through the door, panic etched on every feature. Sir Catastrophe, the translator for the Japanese merger just had a heart attack. The meeting is in 1 hour, $43 million, and we have no one who can. Matthew stood slowly, his mind racing through possibilities. They needed someone who could handle multiple languages simultaneously, someone with perfect recall, someone who could find her. He commanded, his voice thunder. Find Cameron Parker. Now. Sir, security says she's already left. Her phone's disconnected. Then search everywhere. Check her apartment, check the library, check anywhere a shy girl might go to hide. And when you find her... He paused, swallowing his pride. Tell her I'm sorry. Tell her I was wrong. Tell her we need her. Sometimes the truth arrives just in time to save us from our worst mistakes, and the boardroom filled with the Tokyo delegation, like storm clouds, pregnant with rain. $43 million balanced on a knife's edge, and Matthew Cole stood at the head of the table with no translator, no backup plan, and 12 minutes before everything collapsed into financial ruin. Sir. His assistant whispered urgently, sweat beading on his forehead. Security can't locate her. She's not at her apartment. Her phone's dead. The boardroom doors burst open with enough force to rattle the crystal chandelier. Cameron stood there, breathing hard, her cardboard box still clutched in her arms, her face flushed from running. Behind her, Mr. Jasper gave Matthew a knowing nod before disappearing into the hallway. You have no right to be here. Raven stepped forward, her composure cracking. Security removed this woman immediately. Wait. Matthew raised his hand, his eyes never leaving Cameron's face. You came back. After everything, you came back. Mr. Jasper said you needed help. Cameron said simply, her voice steady despite everything. I don't work for you anymore, but... She looked at the confused Japanese delegation, saw the crisis unfolding, understood immediately what was at stake. But some things matter more than pride. Some things are more important than being right. She's a security risk. Raven's voice pitched higher, desperation leaking through. She stole confidential. Enough. Matthew's single word carried the weight of absolute authority. Miss Parker, I'm not ordering you. I'm asking, begging, actually. Will you help us? Cameron set down her box with deliberate calm, walked to the table with her head high. This time she didn't shrink or apologize for existing. She picked up not 2 but 3 pens, and the room collectively held its breath. I'll need 3 notepads, she said quietly but firmly. English, Japanese, and Mandarin. Mr. Takahashi's assistant speaks Mandarin better than English. I can see it in how his eyes move when you speak, how he translates in his head before whispering. If we want this deal to succeed, we need to speak to everyone in the language of their heart, not just their business. The room fell silent as she sat down. But this time she didn't shrink into the chair she owned. It commanded, it belonged in it. Mr. Takahashi, the lead negotiator, began speaking in rapid-fire Japanese, testing her immediately with complex financial terminology. Cameron's hands became birds in flight, 3 birds performing an impossible ballet. Her left hand captured Japanese in flowing characters. Her scarred right hand translated to English in perfect business terminology. And somehow, impossibly, she held the 3rd pen between her right fingers, adding Mandarin annotations in the margins for the assistant. But she wasn't merely translating words, she was translating souls. When Mr. Takahashi made a culturally specific joke about floating bridges that had no English equivalent, she wrote a Western approximation that made Matthew smile appropriately. When tensions rose over percentage points, she added a margin note about the Japanese concept of maintaining harmony that prevented Matthew from pushing too hard and destroying the deal. 30 minutes in, Mr. Takahashi stopped mid-sentence. He'd been testing her, throwing in increasingly complex terminology, switching between formal and informal Japanese, even slipping in some regional Osaka dialect that most translators would miss. She'd caught it all, every nuance, every implication, every unspoken meaning. "Who is this woman?" he asked in perfect English, his first English words of the meeting. "She's—" Matthew started, then stopped. What was she? Not his employee anymore. Not his secretary. Not just a shy girl from housekeeping. She's remarkable. She's inspirational. She's exactly who she's always been, we just couldn't see it. Mr. Takahashi stood and did something that stopped every heart in the room. He bowed to Cameron, not a casual business bow, but deep formal, the kind reserved for someone of great honor and respect. "In my 40 years of international business," he said, his voice carrying the weight of decades, "I have never witnessed such a gift. You don't just translate words, you translate understanding. You build bridges between worlds with nothing but ink and insight. This is not skill, this is art." Cameron's eyes filled with tears. She stood and returned the bow with perfect precision, the exact depth and duration that showed respect without presumption, understanding without arrogance. Mr. Takahashi's eyes widened with delight and surprise. "Cole-san," he said, turning to Matthew. "A company that recognizes and values such inspirational talent is a company worth partnering with. We accept your terms, all of them." The room erupted in celebration. $43 million saved by the shy girl they'd thrown away just hours ago. But the drama wasn't over. Raven stepped forward, her designer heels clicking like a countdown to destruction. "This doesn't change what she did. She still had those documents that you planted." Matthew's voice was quiet, deadly calm. He pulled out his phone, showed the security footage on the conference room screen for everyone to see. "Here's you entering her room at 2:03 a.m. Here's you stealing her real journal. Here's you returning with forged documents. Here's you framing an innocent woman because you were afraid her light might dim yours." Raven's face drained of color, her carefully constructed facade crumbling. I was protecting the company, protecting my position. You were protecting yourself from a ghost." Cameron spoke for the first time since the translation ended. Her voice was steady, sad, unexpectedly compassionate. "I know what it's like to be afraid of becoming invisible again. I know what it's like to think you have to push others down to stay above water. But Raven," she looked at her former manager with something almost like pity, "when you stand on others to reach higher, you're still standing in the shadows they cast. The only way to truly be seen is to help others shine too." "You're terminated," Matthew told Raven. "Clear out your office. Security will escort you." Raven stood frozen, her entire world collapsing in real time. "You don't understand," she whispered, tears finally breaking through her perfect makeup. "I came from nothing. I was nothing. Foster homes where nobody saw me, nobody wanted me. I can't go back to being nothing again." "You were never nothing," Cameron said softly, and the heartwarming compassion in her voice made everyone pause. "You were just afraid. We all are. But fear makes us small, and you could be so much bigger than your fear." Security moved to escort Raven out, but she stopped at the door, turned back to look at Cameron. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I'm so sorry." The Japanese delegation was packing up handshakes and bows all around when Mr. Takahashi approached Cameron one more time. "My granddaughter," he said quietly, pulling out his phone to show a photo of a little girl with hands that were different like Cameron's. "She was born with hands like yours. The doctors said she'd never write properly, never be normal. May I tell her about you?" Cameron held out her hands, the scarred right one, the capable left one, both of them perfect in their imperfection. Tell her, Cameron said, tears flowing freely now, that different isn't broken. It's just another way of being beautiful. Tell her that what makes us different is often what makes us irreplaceable. Tell her about the shy girl who hid her gift until she learned that the world needed exactly what she had to offer. Mr. Takahashi's eyes misted. He pressed a business card into her palm. If you ever want to work in Tokyo, call me. True talent transcends borders, and inspirational souls like yours are rare treasures. Sometimes our greatest wounds become our greatest strengths, and our deepest fears become our most powerful teachers. After the delegation left, the boardroom felt too vast, too quiet, like a church after everyone had gone home. Matthew and Cameron stood at opposite ends of the long table, 40 feet of polished mahogany between them, like an ocean of unspoken truths. Your journal, Matthew said finally, his voice rough with regret. Your real one. Raven destroyed it, didn't she? Cameron nodded, swallowing hard. 7 years of thoughts, dreams, observations. My parents' last letters to me that I'd copied in their handwriting, so I'd never forget how their words looked. Gone. I'm sorry. The words seemed to physically hurt him. I'm sorry for not trusting you, for not seeing what was right in front of me, for being so quick to believe the worst. Why should you have trusted me? Cameron asked, genuine curiosity in her voice. I was just the cleaning lady. Just another shy girl trying to stay invisible. He walked around the table slowly, each step deliberate, purposeful. Because when that secretary collapsed, everyone else stepped back, but you stepped forward. Because when I really looked at you, really saw you, I recognized something. What? Myself. He stopped 3 feet from her. Before the money, before the power, before all of this. When I was just a kid with dyslexia who taught himself to read contracts by memorizing their patterns. They said I was broken, stupid, worthless. Different. Until I proved that different was just another kind of brilliant. Just like you. Cameron looked at him, truly looked past the expensive suit, past the CEO armor. She saw the boy who'd been told he'd never amount to anything, who'd built an empire to prove them wrong, but lost himself in the process. I can't come back to housekeeping, she said quietly but firmly. I'm not asking you to. He pulled out a contract he'd had legal draw up while security searched for her. Director of International Relations. You'd oversee all multilingual negotiations, cultural consulting, bridge the gaps between our worldwide offices. The salary, he showed her the number. Cameron's hands shook. It was more than her parents had ever dreamed of making combined. Enough to bring Amy home. Enough to go back to school part-time. Enough to stop being invisible, to stop being afraid. There's one condition, she said. Matthew raised an eyebrow, intrigued. Mr. Jasper gets promoted to head of maintenance with a 30% raise. He sees people, really sees them. This place needs more of that. More heartwarming humanity. Matthew smiled, the first genuine smile she'd seen from him, and it transformed his face entirely. Done. What else, Raven? His smile vanished. What about her? She needs help, not just punishment. Maybe you could give her a recommendation for counseling for a second chance somewhere else. She's not evil, she's just wounded. We all are. You're defending the woman who tried to destroy you. I'm defending the shy girl inside her who's terrified of disappearing. I know what that feels like. Matthew stared at her with something that looked like awe. You might be the most inspirational person I've ever met. She signed the contract with both hands, simultaneously, making him laugh, a rich, warm sound that filled the empty boardroom. There's one more thing, he said, reaching into his desk. He pulled out a leather journal, pristine and beautiful, with her initials embossed in gold on the cover. "I know it can't replace what you lost, but—" She opened it. On the first page he'd written in careful handwriting, "For the words that refuse to stay hidden. For the shy girl who was never meant to be invisible. For Cameron who taught me to see." I don't know what to say. Then write it. In as many languages as you need. Fill this with your thoughts, your dreams, your observations. Don't hide them anymore. Their hands brushed as she took the journal. Neither pulled away. "Cameron," he said softly. "Yes. That first day when you were writing with both hands, I wasn't amazed by the skill. I was amazed by the grace. You took something that should have been a limitation and turned it into art. That's inspirational in ways I'm still trying to understand." "We all do that," she said thoughtfully. "Take our damage and try to make it beautiful. Some of us just hide it better." A knock at the door interrupted them. Amy burst in, 12 years old, all energy and worry, her face flushed from running. "Cameron, Mr. Jasper called and said you needed me, and I took the bus and—" She stopped, seeing Matthew taking in the scene. "Oh, sorry. I didn't know you were with someone important." "Amy, this is Mr. Cole, my new boss. Mr. Cole, this is my sister Amy, the reason I do everything." Amy looked between them and with 12-year-old intuition that cut straight to the truth, grinned. "Is he why you're smiling like that? You never smile like that." "Amy." Matthew laughed, really laughed. "She's right, you know. You're smiling differently. It's heartwarming to see." And she was. For the first time in 3 years, Cameron Parker was smiling like someone who'd remembered she deserved to be seen, to be valued, to be loved. That evening, as sunset painted the city gold, Cameron stood in her new office walls of Windows shelves, waiting for books in every language she loved. A desk where she could spread out and create. Amy sat in her chair, spinning in circles, laughing with pure joy. "We're not invisible anymore, are we?" Amy asked, dizzy from spinning. "No, baby, we never were. We just needed someone to adjust their eyes. And maybe we needed to adjust our own." Through the glass wall, she could see Matthew in his office on the phone, but watching them. He raised his coffee mug in a small salute. She raised hers back, a promise of partnership, of possibility, of something heartwarming growing between them. When we stop hiding our scars, we discover they were always constellations mapping our way home. Autumn light streamed through the grand ballroom as 500 guests gathered for the International Business Excellence Awards. Cameron stood at the podium, her hands steady, wearing a midnight blue dress Amy helped choose. Her scarred hand was unhidden, her presence unapologetic. "They asked me to speak about success," she began, voice clear. "But I want to talk about failure. About cleaning boardroom tables at midnight, wondering if anyone will see you as more than the shy girl who empties trash." Matthew watched with pride. Beside him, Mr. Jasper wiped tears, his face glowing with warmth. "6 months ago, I was invisible by choice, the ghost whose name you never learned. I had gifts, but hid them, thinking a shy girl should stay small, safe." She raised both hands, bold and inspirational. "These hands were my shame. Scarred at 7, trained to write simultaneously, because I thought doing twice the work might make me worth half as much. I hid behind 7 languages, unable to say I matter. Please see me." The room held its breath. But hiding our gifts robs the world. Everyone here has something small, strange, scarred that could change lives. But you're hiding it behind titles, degrees, fear of being seen. She found Raven at the back, invited at Cameron's insistence, now dressed simply, taking notes with both hands, learning from her example. "I see you," Cameron said to her. "All of you afraid you'll disappear without climbing over others. Real visibility comes from courage, to be vulnerable, scars and all. Raven nodded, tears open, unashamed. Tonight I'm Director of International Relations, but also the shy girl who learned the only one not seeing me was myself. Look around, see the guard writing poetry, the receptionist learning her fifth language, the janitor once a surgeon. See each other for who they are. Applause swelled like a wave. Cameron gestured to Amy holding a trophy. Mr. Jasper joined me. He rose surprised as cheers erupted. He saw me when no one did. And Raven walked to the stage, tentative. She taught me forgiveness. Fear made her falter, but she's rebuilding, lifting others up with her new firm. Cameron turned to Matthew, who joined her hand in hers. Matthew showed me success is about people, not empires. We've built programs for overlooked talent scholarships for those who chose family over dreams. The MC presented a crystal award shaped like intertwined hands. For her extraordinary contributions and inspirational journey, Cameron Parker. The room rose in ovation. Amy hugged her, whispering, "I'm proud of you."